I think I actually am in love with New York City. Everything I breathe is Queens. I think we are the most exquisite borough out here. I am 39 years old. I've built multiple business in New York City. I started in childcare because my son is autistic and I couldn't find proper childcare for him. With that, I've seen it's been a hard road with that. I've seen such a lack of resources in our neighborhoods, and I decided to build upon that and bring those resources to us. Then I started my group home. I'm like, okay, if my son isn't able to take care of himself, where do they go? And with that, there's still a lack. People call me every day. Nicole, can you help me? My son needs services. Oh, Nicole, can you help me get started for the business? Oh, can you help me? And I'm like pulling myself from left to right just to try to help these people. And I'm lacking resources. I'm losing sleep. I'm sleeping 4 hours a day trying to help somebody else. So I said, you know what? You have the know-how. You have some money. You have the knowledge. You have the heart. What are you lacking? Power. I felt that I was lacking power. And in order for me to get power, I decided to run for city council.
We can't hear you. You were saying
hey,
some good stuff,
my
though.
bad.
Hey.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
So what I was saying, welcome to Citizens Live, Rethink and Rebuild. Today's theme is homeownership and economic justice. That video that you just saw, that was Nicole Lee. She is a grantee partner with our organization. And when we say grantee partner, that means that she has received a grant for her organization. And, that's what Citizens is all about. It's about, being able to help people in our community so we can rebuild the city that we know and love in YC. And also, it's Black History Month. So we had to represent, and we've got some amazing guests. Natasha Williams from the Cornelius Group. She is a broker, and she also has an organization that allows, the youth to learn about like financial things, at a really, really young age. And we have Vonetta Hawkins from Wells Fargo. So y'all, we're going to have a conversation. And look, it's just us girls and, some other people that are watching. But let's get down to the nitty gritty. What the heck does home ownership and economic justice mean, y'all?
Natasha, I'll let you start.
Thank you. I'm going to start by saying this. One, thank you. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be here with these ladies right now. Listen, for those of you that are listening right now, that are watching, pen to paper, you about to get this tea. Make sure you get your teaspoon out, your honey or your sugar if you prefer, and start stirring because we're about to talk to you. Okay? All right. The first thing I want to talk about is this, if I may. Every time I deal with a client, I look at them holistically and I say, listen, I'm not the type of broker that I work with you and you're being put into a home that you cannot afford. We don't have time for you to buy it and then lose it. I have time for you to buy it and then recycle. You understand? Okay. So the first thing I like to talk to them about is this. Economic justice. We all know, and I'm going to say it because it's true, that sometimes when we have our homeowners and they're looking to sell their property, you know what happens? Sometimes the appraiser doesn't understand the value of our community. And not understanding the value of our community means that our net worth is decreased because we're relying on that property to be sold to get the best bang for our buck to do whatever else that we have to do. And then we can't because our community is misunderstood. So why am I starting off with that? Because when we talk about economic justice and home ownership, we have to see how all of this ties together. So one, on the other hand, you have someone, a homeowner that wants to sell, but not getting their bang for their buck. Automatically, that neighborhood, that block has been reduced in value. But pick up that home and put it somewhere else, and I won't name any names. All of a sudden, the value is there and then some. Economic justice and home ownership. Think about it from the perspective of a buyer. You're looking to purchase a home and you're excited. You need to know sometimes the income might not be there. Why? Because if you're going to talk about economic justice, let's keep it real. Sometimes the pay scale is not equal. So you have someone coming in the same type of role, maybe the same type of company, and maybe they're getting paid way more than you are. So guess what they can do? Afford a home more than you can. Or maybe you can't even afford that home yet because of all the expenses you have. I'm going to say, because it's the truth, we all know they look at our credit for insurance. They look at our credit for everything. And so guess what? Because I'm about to ask for an amen and an offering. Then all of a sudden, they look at their credit score and like, oh, we have to now charge you a higher interest rate, which means you pay out more money, which means you afford less at the end of the day. Economic justice, or can I say injustice, it touches every aspect of our lives, but sometimes we know and sometimes we don't know. It's a silent killer. And this is why I'm so happy that we're here to talk about this today and really look at ways in which we can still beat the system. Yes, I said it, the system, SYSTEM, spell check me, system.
I love some of the things that Natasha just tucked on. And I'll just start when I think about, first of all, thank you, Melanie, Citizens NYC for having me here, for Wells Fargo being able to represent. And one thing, I think about the title, Rethink and Rebuild. And when I think about what I attribute to rethinking, I want everybody in the diverse community to rethink what is wealth and what does wealth mean to them. And I want them to know that the number one avenue to wealth is home ownership. So let's wrap our heads around that first, right? So I want you to rethink what is wealth, and I want you to start with home ownership. And then when we talk about rebuild, I want you to rebuild your journey to home ownership. Because some people may have gotten on the road when the pandemic came in and got off the road to home ownership. I want you to rebuild your journey. I want you to get back on your journey. If you had an income hiccup, if you had a credit hiccup, if you had an asset hiccup, I want you to rebuild that. And I want you to get back on the road to home ownership. So those are my two things that when I think about, home ownership and justice, it's rethinking and rebuilding what is wealth, how do you obtain it, how do you incorporate home ownership into that picture, and rebuilding your journey. Two of the biggest barriers to home ownership is credit and down payment and your down payment. Two biggest barriers. So I want you to rethink what that journey is. And then, one of the things Natasha mentioned was about appraisals. In this country, we are facing appraisal biases. 89% of appraisers in this country are white. And over that 89%, over 50% of them are men. So if that's for every single real estate appraisal in this country that happens, 89% of it is done by a white male. So appraisal bias exists in the industry, and it impacts your bottom line when we think about wealth. And I'm going to tell you a little story. Recently, I work at Wells Fargo, fabulous, love my job. I manage home ownership in the Northeast market, but I'm also an investor. I'm a real estate investor. And recently, I purchased an investment property. And the person that sold it to me, they showed me their appraisal from, when I was in the process of purchasing the house. And because they was going to refinance and then they had gotten an appraisal. And when I looked at their appraisal, two things that I pointed out to them. One of the things was their house was a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath. The appraiser did not put the half a bath on their appraisal. Right? The second thing was they had a bonus room. The appraiser did not count the square footage of that bonus room in that appraisal.
And I just want to add one thing, just in case if nobody knows what appraisal is. Can you just explain what that is as you continue?
Love it. So an appraisal is when it's a professional. They come in and they do an evaluation of the value of your property. So if you have a house or any type of real estate property that has to get appraised, the appraiser is the person that comes in and says this property is worth X, whatever X is. So here we have us, and they were black, the seller, a black seller in a market selling a house where a half a bath isn't counted. That is money, people. And 100 square feet was not counted. That is money. That is literally money. So I said, I was like, this is bananas, first of all. Let's start this crazy.
Yeah.
So when my appraiser came out, I said, let's be clear. It's 2.5 bath, and that room is 100 square foot. So when you send me that appraisal, I'm going to need to make sure it's on there. So let's just be clear on that, right? However, I said, let me take this a little bit further. I went and looked in the market of where these houses were being sold. And I saw in a variety of the different properties that were being sold, a lot of them, then they all cookie cutter, meaning they all look alike. They all like the same style ranch house. The half a bath was missing out of all of them.
And see,
So
look,
here you
I heard
have a community of Black people, because it was a high market of Black and African American people, and on their properties in the process of selling their houses, it wasn't even listed that they had a half a bath. That's at least $5,000 when you from a real. I mean, Natasha can tell you that's at least $5,000. So when I said we're gonna kick this off and talk about rethinking what is wealth, that is literally wealth being subtracted from your pocket.
Wow.
Okay.
And thus you just added that bathrooms and kitchens are the quickest ways to increase your home value.
Thank you. Thank you. So not only did they not give people 100 square foot, they took the bathroom from them, which is money out their pocket. From a resale perspective, from if I own a house and I want to take some equity out and start my business, because Black women are the number one business starters in this country, I got to get less money because my house ain't even getting appraised at what it's supposed to get appraised at.
So Vonetta, let me ask you a question. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but just,
ahead.
You have this access that maybe everybody doesn't have. Like, you were able to go and check some things. You knew that, hey, this is supposed to be up here. It's not up here. Somebody maybe like me, like, I'm not in the real estate business, and, maybe that's something I may not catch. So how do I address something like that if I even notice that there's an issue?
So I'm going to tell you where I figured it out at. Zillow, it's your friend. This is public information. All of this information is public. I just so I got the appraisals, which is, you pay to get your appraisals done. So I had the physical appraisals, and I asked the seller for the appraisal, but it's all about you doing your due diligence. And that's a great question, Melanie. So I recommend people always, this is the biggest purchase of your life, homeownership. Always do your due diligence, and don't just let people tell you, here it is. Here's the okay. This is what it is. Look at everything, question everything. So when you get your house appraised, whatever you're doing, and you look at that appraisal, make sure it matches up to what you saw, what you know. Then go on to Zillow. I literally just went on to Zillow, searched in my market, and was like, none of these houses have the half a bath. Like, that is completely crazy. So, the information is there. You just got to do a little bit of your own due diligence. I just will say, I'm that person. I was always that person in class that had my hand up. Like, I don't understand. I don't like gray area. I don't live well in it. I don't. If somebody try to tell me something, and I see some gray, I'm like, we're gonna need to get that to black and white, because I can't play in the gray area. I don't even know. My head bomb emoji blows up. You try to put me in some gray area. So I recommend doing your due diligence to really understand, because appraisal bias exists. There are a lot of things out there right now. A lot of companies are recognizing that appraisal bias exists. They're trying to add some more diversity to the appraisers in the industry. It's not an easy industry to get in, which is the reason why minorities aren't necessarily in the industry, as there have been a lot of barriers just to even get the job of being an appraiser. So there's a lot of things out there right now trying to combat that. But it impacts you as the buyer, as the person trying to build wealth for yourself and legacy wealth for your family.
100%.
So, and if I can just add to that real quickly. And by the way, I got my sign up. Facts. Everything Vonetta said. Facts.
Love it.
We're going to say that. When we talk about the appraisal, it is key. When I'm dealing with, first things first, when I talk to anyone and they own their home and they say, Natasha, I'm looking to sell. I'm like, are you sure? Now, other brokers look at me, what? Are you seriously asking that question? Yes, I am seriously asking that question, because Vonetta said it. When you have home ownership, everything else can come out of it. I'm going to talk about the New York market for 2.2 seconds, all right, in 2022. Listen, when you have your home, it's said 5 to 7 years in the boroughs, your home will increase in value. Some say, a lofty number as double. I'm not going there. Let's be conservative about everything, because I don't like gray. I like black and white, but I like gray in your hat. My thing is, okay, because I see you, is at least a 30-40% increase in value on your property. What I always counsel my new owners, listen, when you have a property or existing homeowner, look at the equity. Look at an appraisal. The appraisal is key to your property. It tells you what your value is. But to Vonetta's point, you have to question, because there are things that are missing that you might just say, oh, okay, this is the value, and just take it. You can't. You have to go over everything. And if you don't understand everything, get another professional and have like a real estate broker, real estate agent, and let them go over the appraisal with you. Because what you cannot do is leave money on the table. That first home is your starter home. It's not your dream home, typically. It's your starter home. But guess what? That starter home can get you to your dream home. Keep that home, talking strategy right now. Do a refi, which means pull some money out of that property because it increased after 5 to 7 years. And then take that money and sit down at the table with the family and say, hey, what do we do with this money now? Am I taking this and purchasing another property? Maybe in your hometown, maybe not in your hometown. Look at what the comps are saying, and comps are comparative analysis of other homes and what their value is in that neighborhood, and say, hey, can we afford to purchase a home there? And I would say not a single family home, depending if you're going to do an Airbnb, drop-in strategy, or you're going to be by university, drop-in strategy, caught that good, or buy a multifamily property, okay? And with that multifamily property, what are we banking on? Rent. I'm going to give another tip. I bought my first home at the age of 22. No, I'm not 22 right now. I look it. But I'm not 22 right now. 22 has far escaped me. But I do celebrate the anniversary of my 25th birthday. But listen, what I'm telling you right here is key. Appraisals are important. Understanding the value of your home is important. That home will be the benchmark to 5 to 7 years later, being able to do a refinancing, take some cash out of that home and purchase another property. I said before, if you didn't have pen and paper, get it now. A single family home where you can do maybe Airbnb. Always check the regulations in each county or state. Take that money. If you're not doing an Airbnb, buy a multifamily property. You're banking on the rent. Now, I'm going to say something about the rent. We like to charge market rent, and that's good, but we need to be ethical investors as well. Why am I saying that? You know what? We can always open the door to Section 8. Yes, I said it's a dirty word among some people, but I'm saying it right now because it was good for me when I started out. Thank you.
Not for Section 8. I have Section 8 tenants right now, and you know what I got during the pandemic? My check.
Was being deposited.
Money. I got it every month, every single month during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. The government never stopped paying me. So Section 8 tenants are amazing.
Yes.
You know, someone had in here in the chat, about strategies for when people are dismissed in the process. Is people will do to you what you allow them to do to you, right? So if you don't want to be dismissed, don't be dismissed. So if you don't understand something, if you need more clarification of something, tell them you're going to act like Vonetta right now. You're going to raise your hand. You're going to ask questions. You're going to do whatever it is you need to do to understand this process. Especially, I tell my first-time home buyers, you're going to hear, and I was talking to Melanie about this yesterday, like you're going to hear words, terminology, all type of things that you've never heard before when you start the process of buying a house. And if you don't understand it, then ask a question. And if people are not team you, and I think that was Leslie that asked the question, if you're in your home buying process and you realize that somebody's not team Leslie, quit them. Bye. Leave them. Quit them. Because everybody needs to be on your team when you are making the largest purchase of your life. Okay? Everybody needs to be on your team. And if they're not on your team in that process, then they should not be part of your journey. So that rebuilding that journey, get them off the journey. Their exit on the turnpike, was number 9, and it was time for them to get out because it was their exit. This is your purchase. Own your power. And I don't know. One of y'all said that in the beginning about power. Own your power. Own your buying power. Your buying power is girls and guys. Your buying power is tremendous and it is powerful. So own it. And what Natasha was just talking about, that strategy on buying something and then buying your next, that was literally what I did as well. I bought my first house, and the year after that, I bought my next, and then I bought my next, and my next, and my next, and my next, and my next, because it was like, oh, this is easy. That's just what I thought. I was like, this is easy, buying houses. But I definitely encourage people, if you want to buy maybe a multifamily first, so that this way, when you want to get into your second property, you can immediately turn that multifamily into a complete investment property, and you've already got the landlord experience because you had, a 2 to 3 to 4 unit. So definitely, maybe that's always a good strategy, is starting off with a multifamily and then moving over, especially in the New York market. There's massive, New York has I'm going to say 46% of the purchases that happen in New York are multifamily purchases. Just so, there's opportunity. Let's just say that. Even from a condo or a co-op, well, not co-ops, they got rules and regulations around renting, but a lot of condos are good as well, when it comes to being that first starter home, to be able to flip into something that's a rental, and then move over into something else. And Natasha talked on a great point around the Airbnbs. Anything, people, any property can be Airbnb'd. People are, no matter where you live, you might be like, I live in Hickstown, in USA. Nobody's gonna rent Airbnb in my house. Yes, they will, because they don't want to stay with the in-laws that live next door. So they want to choose that Airbnb and stay in that Airbnb in the middle of nowhere. Okay. So trust me when I say you can Airbnb any property. Add that to your strategy when you're thinking about when you're thinking about that home ownership component.
Well, you know what,
Vonetta?
Yes.
Sorry. Leslie had a question, and I think both of y'all can probably answer this one, because it's about being a Black woman. When you show up and you know what you're talking about, you probably ain't gonna get the best reception, So, Vonetta, is that something that you've experienced a lot, Natasha?
Oh, listen, I own my space wherever my space is at. So when I show up, one of the things I mentioned is that I'm also an investor. So I'm literally in the process. I just bought a house in November. I'm fixing it and I'm flipping it. So when the contractors are coming up and I'm scheduling appointments with the contractors to come and do work, they're like, so is there anybody else that you need to have at the meeting when we come and meet with you? And I'm like, no, I just meet. And then when I show up, they're like, oh, so it's just you? And I'm like, yes, it's just me. So, I own my space and I know what I'm talking about. And whatever I don't know, I'm asking them questions and I'm taking note. I remember one of the times I showed up with a contractor, and I'm a big note taker. I write things down. My mama always said, write things down. So I write everything down. So I'm a big note taker. So I remember I was writing everything down, and the guy's like, like you're taking notes and you're asking questions. And he felt some type of way because I was taking notes and asking questions. And it's like, back to that power thing. So my buying power is everything. So if I don't feel that I'm respected, then I won't use my buying power on you. I will spend it somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And it literally is that simple. So own your power. First of all, know that you're powerful. Okay, let's just know that you're powerful, and then own it. That's and right. Use your power where you want to use your power. And when people see that you have snatched that from them because of their potential behavior, then they will recognize when they go back out into the world how they address people in certain scenarios.
Correct.
Own your power, use your power, exercise your power, and you will be powerful. And no one will ever be able to just dismiss you. That's my advice.
That's right. I got to add to that. Vonetta, power all day, every day. I want everyone who's listening to also realize that you need to create your team. And Vonetta talked about that. Your team is important. And who's your team? Your team is obviously, you're going to have a home, and I'm talking to a buyer right now, a home inspector that you interview everyone. There has to be 3 people per category that you're going to interview. And I tell my buyers this: create synergy. If you don't feel the synergy is there, AKA power, that they're answering your questions the way in which you need it to be answered, then they're not a good fit. They're not on your team. Okay? You need a home inspector. Interview 3 home inspectors at least. Get referrals if you can. Second, you need a great attorney who will answer your questions, because this is a very big purchase. And off this purchase, you're supposed to go ahead and launch out and buying other properties, maybe starting your business, a daycare, whatever the case might be. You need to look for a real estate broker, a real estate agent that you can trust. Interview 3. Ask about experience. Ask about the areas that you want to go in. I have to say this. And this one thing is interview your bank. And why am I saying this? Interview everyone, because this is your team and this is your money, and you have power, and you also have purchasing power. Okay? Listen, when you interview your bank, it's not only about interest rates. Okay? You're talking about synergy. You're talking about answering your questions. You're also going to talk about, hey, do you know anything about grants? Did I say it? I said it. Grants. Grants
Free money.
Free money. Listen, I will take free money all day, every day. Nothing wrong with that game. There's free money on these streets. You need to find it. I'm going to give you, for those in New York or some of the surrounding areas, I'm going to give you a couple of nonprofit organizations that administer grants from HPD. And that grant is called Home First. There's NHS of Jamaica. There's NHS of Brooklyn. There's NHS of Queens, or AKA Woodside. There's NHS NYC. And then for those of you looking at the island, then go to CDCLI, go to LIHA.
Listen, this is what you do. Every state in this entire country
offers
down payment assistance programs.
Correct.
Every state in this entire country offers money to help you buy a house. There's also those nonprofits, and there's a lot of different cities and towns that offer programs as well. So the key thing is what I tell you. Google it. Google, if you want to buy in the Bronx, Google down payment assistance Bronx. And the Bronx one is going to come up. The state of New York one is going to come up. And anybody else. I think Bronx has like $30,000, $40,000 program. So
yes,
Google is your friend. It's my friend. Google's your friend. You want to find out down payment assistance, Google it. Wherever you want to buy, Google down payment assistance. You know, Natasha, there's 2 questions in here about student loans and about debt. So you know how I said rebuild that journey is understanding your credit profile.
Yes.
So there are there's 2 things I would say around understanding your credit profile and getting ready. Because whether it's student loan debt, there's rules and regulations on how that's calculated, or it's any debt. Whatever is on your credit is debt. It's not just student loan. It's all type of debt that's on your credit. So let's just talk about debt, period, and your picture. 2 things. If you want to improve your credit and you need help improving your credit, then there are professionals out there that help you. There are nonprofits, such as several of the ones Natasha just named, that will help you get on your credit journey and give you support. And they do it for free. Free. Okay. So let me just tell you to get how you find wherever you're at. You go to HUD.gov. HUD.gov. And you can look for their HUD approved housing approved counselors.
Correct.
Those housing counselors help you with your credit picture. They give you the letters, they review your credit, and they do it, most of them, for free. Okay? HUD.gov, go to a housing counselor and have them help you with your credit profile. The other thing I will say, never disqualify yourself. Some people be like, oh, I can't buy a house because my credit is this, my credit is that. You don't know nothing. You may still be able to buy a house with all of your shenanigans. Okay? So let me just help you out. You may still be able to buy a house with all of your current shenanigans on your credit report. So do not disqualify yourself thinking, I can't buy because I have student loan. I can't buy because I have a collection. I can't buy because I missed a payment on something. Speak with the loan officer professional and ask them to evaluate your picture. Now, if you speak to them and they be like, sorry, Melanie, you still don't qualify, say thank you, sir or ma'am, and then go to the next person. Because you know what? Everybody's financial picture ain't gonna fit every single lender. I'm with Wells Fargo. There's rules and regulations that we have. Every lender has rules and regulations for qualifying consumers to buy a house. And a lot of them are different. So if somebody tells you no, you know how I said I was that person that'd be like, I have questions. I also don't play around with the no. You tell me no, I'm like, thank you. I'm going to go ask that person. And then I'm going to go ask that person. And then I'm going to go ask her. And then I'm going to go ask him. Because that no that a lender might tell you might be just the no for their products.
Right.
It might not be the no for the next lender. So don't be discouraged, people. Stay on your journey and get to where you get the yes. Okay? Focus on the goal. The goal is the yes. Stay on the journey to rebuild, whatever that may look like. Speak with a professional and work with the one that has the financial vehicle for your financial picture.
Vonetta, that is amazing. Right. And I think that's a really great thing to lead people on. I know like 30 minutes don't went by that fast. You're just having a little bit too much fun. But I want to give Natasha the opportunity also to, leave something, with people to, hang on to, especially.
There's a question about credit. And it's like, what can we do to build credit? Yes, you sit down with a credit counselor and go through all of that. Also, there's just quick things that you can do here and there to improve your credit score. One is maybe get a secured credit card. Use that secured credit card because it will be the opportunity to rebuild if you're, like Vonetta said, you had some shenanigans going on, right? Take the time to always look for order your annual report every year. And look, there might be some discrepancies that it might not be associated with you. Misspelling of the name, wrong address, it's not you. The social could be off. Anything could happen. And here you are thinking that your credit score is one number when it actually is not. So just make sure that you review this thing every year. If I might say one more thing, we should be sitting down at the dinner table talking about credit. We should be sitting down at the dinner table talking about home ownership and how to buy our first home and when is the next time we'll buy our second and our third and our fourth. We should be sitting at the dining room table talking about business ownership. What's the business that we're going to start now? And if I'm going to say one last thing, we should be sitting at the dining table from them when they're young. When I'm feeding my son and he was 6 months old, I said, guess what? You got good credit. He's like, what? Feed me this apple pie. What? Give me the applesauce. What's she talking about? But guess what? I'm instilling something in his mind from now. He's 4 years old. When we go to the supermarket, he takes a receipt from my hand and starts reading the receipt, checking me to make sure that all the numbers add up. I said, what? I didn't see that coming. What am I saying? Sit down at the dinner table. If you are in your 50s and buying a home, bravo to you. Anytime is the right time to start. I started when I was 22 because that's just what happened. But guess what? I got used to the process. So at any time you start this game or you start the system of business ownership or home ownership, start at any time, but keep growing, keep going. Okay?
Annualcreditreport.com. Annualcreditreport.com. They used to give it once a year. Now, due to the pandemic, they've been giving it free every week. You can get your free credit report, and it comes directly from the credit bureaus. So I love Julie put creditkarma.com. Awesome. Annualcreditreport.com comes directly from the credit bureaus. Thank you. Directly from the credit bureaus. You get one free a week from all three of the credit bureaus. Okay. So you definitely want to annualcreditreport.com. Love it. This was awesome.
Very much so.
Whoa. Yeah, you guys are amazing. I've gotten so much information from this session, and I'm pretty sure everybody watching has, gotten the same thing. So I just want to say I appreciate you all. Thank you for even taking the time to talk about these things, being a part of this broadcast. We really appreciate you.
Love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Keep leading in the community.
Amen to that. We need you.
And then I'll leave it on this one quote that we have. Since it's for Black History Month, it'll be, if you're going to live, leave a legacy, Happy Black History Month. And we also got to throw in, we got to give thanks to our sponsors. So we've got to thank Mollie Parnis Livingston Foundation, Wells Fargo, Booth Ferris Foundation, TD Bank, National Grid Foundation, and just all of the donors that have helped us, to, be a part of, NYC and helping to rebuild it. So we really appreciate that. And if you want a complete list of our donors, or you want to access the grant applications, because we are giving money to the community, for these organizations to help, build and rebuild NYC. So make sure you go to citizensnyc.org and you'll get more information there. Thanks for being a part of the broadcast. Bye.